Hello, hello, Facebook family. 7 p.m., February 7th, 2024. Can't believe it. We're already 1 week in the second month of the year. There's only 12. It seems like another year we're going to blow right past, and we're going to be in 2025 here pretty soon. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It is our Facebook Live Elevate. We have a great topic, and I want to share it with you here shortly. But basically, I just wanted to make sure that we give a special shout out to Karen. And I wanted to wait a little bit before I start. But Karen's doing better, and it's great to see and great to hear that she's doing better. But our prayers and those that are believe in prayer, that do believe in prayer, please pray for Karen that she recovers 100%. So we always start these Facebook Lives. We always start with the date. We always start with our shout outs. And one thing I wanted to do was shout out to the Super Bowl. I am really looking forward to sitting down and watching the Chiefs play the 49ers. I'm actually conflicted because the coach of the 49ers used to be a wide receiver for the University of Texas. And then the quarterback for the Chiefs used to whoop up on the Texas, UT, and I used to watch him, and I used to respect him so much because I thought he was highly skilled. And here we are. So and then Andy Reid, I felt like, man, I just liked the guy. I liked him when he was coaching Donovan McNabb. I liked him when he was an offensive coordinator. I just liked their personalities. I liked the way they carried themselves. So I'm conflicted. So I decided I'm going to go for the Chiefs, but I want to hope. I believe the 49ers are going to win, but I'm going to go for the Chiefs. Say hi to my parents. They're on. Stephanie, Tamika, it's good to see you guys on. Like I said earlier, I wasn't sure if you guys heard me. Let's keep our prayers up for Karen. She's still in the hospital, but she is doing better. I also want to shout out to Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, he's going to be. Oh, is my wife on? Let me see. Hello from my commercial kitchen. So let me hold up on the Jim Harbaugh. So basically, Shar has gazillion cupcakes to make, and she's out there doing her thing, and her help didn't show up, so she's by herself down there doing her thing. So she will not be with us during this broadcast. But during this time of year, my dad said, "Go Chiefs." During this time of year, she gets a ton of orders because of Valentine's Day, so it's a good thing for her to get these orders. So I want to say she's somewhere near 500 cupcakes or something that she has to make. So, but anyway, so I had to say that in. So definitely, I'm actually going for the Chiefs, but I just feel like it's hard to beat a team twice, and they did beat them in the Super Bowl. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, I think 2020 or something. So it's going to be fun to watch. But I'm excited. I just can't wait. So I also wanted to give a shout out to Jim Harbaugh. So here's a guy that finally wins a championship. They brought him there to Michigan in college to win a championship. He wins a championship. So he finally wins his championship. His team was better than I thought it was. I didn't see that coming. That team was tough. So then he's in the last year of his contract, and he had some issues going on, and he wanted some guarantees to make sure. Excuse me. Some guarantees to make sure he won't be financially hit for if some things go down or some judgments come down. And at the end of the day, he got an offer from Michigan, 10 years. Look at Joseph. Joseph saying 49ers. So, but he got an offer from Michigan, 10 years, 125 million. So he's been playing and toying with the idea of going to the pros, and he got an offer from San Diego Chargers, 5 years, $80 million. And I just want to give a shout out for the man to have choices. I mean, that is an awesome thing. Can you imagine? Do I go for the 10-year, 125 million, or do I go for the 5-year, 80 million? Of course, one is 12.5 million a year, and the other one's 16. He decided to go with the Chargers. So I'm excited to see what happens just because I was a kid and I remember my dad taking me to see the Chargers. And that's back when Dan Fouts was the quarterback and Charlie Muncie was the running back. And they looked huge. They looked like giants. They look like giants. These guys look like giants. So very excited to see. I believe that Harbaugh is a better pro quarterback. I'm sorry, pro coach than he is a college coach. So I'm going to be anxious to see what he does. So Tamika's from San Diego. She's saying she's happy, and I am happy too. I just have a lot of respect for that man, and basically, because I think even I think one of their nephews, I think his nephew is also going to be a special teams coach somewhere. I just can't remember where it is. So just shout out to that. Shout out to the Super Bowl. Shout out to the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. What is Elevate? Elevate is a acronym, is also the namesake of the company. Expectations, leadership, ethics, vision, attitude, temperaments, and effectiveness. So basically, if you can always get coaching in that whole acronym, and it's like usually about an hour and a half that we do, or you can do the several seminars. And what we do today is like a mini seminar. It's like a mini seminar. So and then who is our customer? Our customer is those first tier leaders, those people that have never been in a leadership. That's how our ideal customer is. Never been in leadership. Now they're like, hey, I'm getting promoted. I need to learn some basic leadership skills. That is our customer. Of course, we can go deeper, but that is what our customer, that's what we envision our customer looking like. So very much focused on private coaching. And of course, we have a website for that, wemustelevate.com. All right. So let's get to the nitty gritty here. I'm very excited to what we're talking about today. I know some people will be missing. I know some people are at the hospital. There's things going on, but I'm glad that these are recorded and saved forever. So, this here, there's a famous quote, and it says, "The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off." And that quote grabbed me. As soon as I heard that quote, it grabbed me. It's not a new quote. I'm not a big fan of the person that said it, but the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. So that is what inspired today's topic today. What has pissed you off? Episode 122. What has pissed you off? Episode 122. And of course, what I mean by that is that if the truth shall set you free, then at first you must have believed in a lie, right? And that lie has had you prisoner. So now the truth comes and sets you free. But, it's easy to be like, man, if I would have known that, or man, or this situation, because to me, you can take truth and you can interchange reality. You can say the reality will set you free. You can say the truth will set you free. And that's just me talking. But the idea that you will be set free by the truth, it's been a powerful statement. Of course, most of us know it came from the Bible, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But the question to you all, and I know we only have a few people on here, the question to you all is, what truth have you learned that pissed you off when you first learned it? It can be something 10 years ago. It can be something today. It can be something yesterday. Something that you learned that when you learned it, it really pissed you off because you realized that, hey, I've been operating under this false knowledge or under this wrong assumption for decades or years or whatever. So while you guys are typing that, I'm going to share a couple areas that I am pissed off about. So for me, and I know this is going to sound a little nerdy, but I'm going to explain while you guys are typing what has pissed you off that you learned. For me, it was not knowing the temperaments. So as a kid, growing up, I always questioned my personality type and who I was and if it was normal, because I used to get criticized for the way I was by some of my friends. And I always questioned it. And I didn't know the temperaments. And you go into my dad said that people closest to you can hurt you the most. That's a good one. But not knowing my temperament and understanding that who I was, that introvert, that guy that feels more comfortable alone, or that guy that when he's around a lot of people, his energy gets drained and that he has to get recharged by being by himself, that is normal. That is normal. I've even done Facebook lives over it. So for me, not knowing the temperaments is one. Um, Number two would be underestimating the complex nature of relationships. Man, did I miss the boat. I had no idea. And once that truth hit me in the face, I was like, I was upset with myself. I was like, man, this is something I could have prevented if I just would have put the work in to explore. But I didn't. So here I am, underestimating the complex nature of relationships. And y'all that know me know that I paid a price for that. The third thing that I think of is finances. And I think of being having more of a strategy and a focus on financial literacy, and also understanding that applying that financial wisdom. I think of the amount of money I've made over my adult lifetime. There's no reason why I shouldn't be a millionaire. So well, it is a reason. The reason why I'm not a millionaire, because I did not spend the time doing the work to find out what it would take. Stephanie said, I'm going blank. I cannot think of anything that I learned that pissed me off. Joseph said, not knowing how important education was in high school. Aunt Linda said, hello. So the question we have, Aunt Linda, to the group here is, what truth have you learned that has pissed you off? And we came up with that because the subject has been inspired by this quote by Gloria Steinem. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. So today's topic or subject matter is, what has pissed you off? So people are sharing things that they wish they would have learned, and once they learned them, they're like, man, it pissed me off because I just wasted time, right? And the things that I shared was, of course, knowing the temperaments, understanding the nature of the complex nature of relationships, and being more strategic with my money. Instead of just living, understanding that you can make that money work for you. Here I am at 52, and I don't have money, besides the basic stuff. I got a 401k, but I'm talking about the basic, really having something that is while you sleep, it's just generating, whether, I don't even care if it was, if it was an ATM machine, Alex said, trusting someone I had no business trusting. Shondell said, when I realized that forgiveness is for me. So that's what we're talking about. And then think about the effect of how it affected your community because you didn't know. Whether you're a head of a family or maybe you're an influential person in your family. Linda said the same thing I said, not saving and investing. But think about the effects of you not knowing and how it affected your part in the community that you're involved in, and the impact you could have made if you knew. And that's really what motivates me to keep doing these Facebook lives, because like I said, I benefit more than anybody else, just because I get a chance to dig in. It takes about an hour and a half work to do 15 minutes on this, at least for me, maybe just because I'm a slow reader, but it takes me about an hour and a half to prepare for these, and then you always got to be alert. You always have your mind always has to be open, because you're looking for topics every week. So these things help me more than it helps anybody else. But when you think about the effects, when you think about that quote, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. Man, that is a lot in there. That is a lot in there. And my question is, now what? Now what? Right? So let's just pretend your position between, and let's say your position right now at the pissed off stage. I know most of us is probably past on some of these issues that we listed, that we're past it, we've grown past it, but there's going to be other truths. If you keep living, there's going to be other truths, other realities that come and confront you that will force you to see it. And you're going to be like, wow, if I would have known that, and that situation is going to come up again. So the question is, now what? What do you do, right? If you're at that pissed off stage. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. At 7:14, we only got about 16 minutes, 15 minutes. The clock just changed, 15 minutes. What will your response be? What is the right way to respond to these situations? Because they're going to keep coming. you're never going to know everything. So you're going to keep walking into these new situations, and they're going to rock you, and you're going to have this, wow, man, if I would have known this, you would keep going through that. But to me, what's important is the response. Not so much that you're going to go through it. We're all going to go through it, but the response to it, especially as leaders that are leading people. What are we telling our people when they have their aha moments and they finally get upset with themselves? What are we telling our leaders? So, number one, now what? The first thing is understand how critical it is that you respond in this moment the right way. Understand how critical it is that you respond to this moment the right way. That's number one. And I wanted to share 3 quotes, and they all pretty much say the same thing. One person said all of history can be summed up in 2 words: challenge and response. Number 2, life is 10% of your experience and 90% is how you respond to it. But my favorite one is this one. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So that's what this is all about, because it happens over and over and over again. And some of us are better than others at making the right decisions and having the right response. And some of us are worse than others. And we keep doing it over and over again and banging our head against the wall. So what is the point I'm trying to make? It's all about how we're going to respond, whether it be the truth or whether it be a challenge. It's always about how we're going to respond. And this is going to sound cheesy, and I'm like not the cheesy guy. I really am not. But the way we got to respond, boy, it sounds cheesy. I have not said this out loud yet. I just read it. I wrote it down and I read it, but I have not said this out loud. But the way we have to respond is that we have to respond in love. Now, when I said love, it made me feel like P. Diddy, because he says he was in his love stage and, all this stuff going down with him. So I don't want to be associated. I shouldn't have brought his name up, but I just thought it was out there. So I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we need to do everything in love. So even when we handle these challenges, and we're gonna and the first thing, and another version, and this is something that, and I took this answer from the Bible, because that statement, this truth shall set you free, is in the Bible, So I said, well, what does the Bible say? So it says we should do everything in love. Some locations, some versions will say, let all your affairs be transacted in love. So for first question for me is like, okay, what's this love thing? Everybody says this stuff. This is a term used all the time. We use it, and I don't think we understand the impact of it. But overall, we use it, and it's Valentine's Day. It's going to get used some more. And I know it sounds kind of hippish. I know the Bob Marley movie's coming out on the 14th. So I'm not saying that we should smoke a blunt and let life be life. I'm not saying that at all. But we do have to respond in love. So, I look at the top religions, and I kind of looked up what the Buddhists think. The Buddhists say there's 4 components of love. They say love and kindness. They say compassion. They say empathetic joy. They say equanimity. That's their definition of love. They feel like love is combined of those. And, I don't want to go deeper in those just because we don't have a lot of time. But then the Muslims and the Jews say, basically, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? They don't really go deeper than that. There's some other stuff. You look up certain words, but at the end of the day, they're trying to let you understand what love is, so they're saying, hey, love your neighbor as you love yourself. But to me, the Christians have the cleanest and easily understood version of love. And this is not a church session, I hear you not, but if it wasn't this clear, I wouldn't read it. And it's funny because when you look at weddings, people use this verse all the time, before the wedding. And it's basically 1 Corinthians 13. It says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always preserves. So that's what we mean. That's what we mean by when that truth hits you, that you have to respond in love. You cannot operate in an impatient way. You can't operate in a mean way. You can't be operate in a jealous way. You can't make a record of this and then get bitter over it. You know, it's telling you how you should act if you want to act in love. And it's probably the clearest, most way to understand how we should act. So when we look at it, I got to sit here and make sure I'm not missing anything. Later in that same book, it says the thing that we talked about: do everything in love. In the same book, it says it. It says everything. Just do everything in love. Come from that disposition, and it's hard. I just went through a major challenging situation, and in this challenging situation, I can truly say I operated in that, and it was hard because part of me just wanted to cuss out everybody, you know. But at the end of the day, I made it through. Uh, things are not the way I want it to be. Things are not the way I planned it to be at all. I mean, at all. This is not the plan at all. But I know that I did not operate in impatience. I know I didn't operate in just being mean. I know I wasn't being envious of anybody. I wasn't seeking my own. You know, I wasn't self-seeking. And then I didn't make a record of wrongs. I looked at the situation and I said, you know what? This is not a healthy situation. So at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. The first point, understanding how important it is that you make the right decision, right? Number two, under now what is it was 722. Focus on things that you can make a daily committed action for. So here you are, you're in this situation, and maybe maybe you're like me. Maybe you're like me. You know, you got a whole bunch of things that you made a bad decision on. So for me, I can't worry about the 15 things I can't do nothing about. I can worry about things that I'm doing right now that can get me going in the wrong direction. So what I'm saying here is focus on things that you can make a daily committed action for. You know, whether it is maybe reading a book, or maybe it's focusing on meditation, or maybe it's focusing on exercise. But whatever it is, you need to focus on the things that you can make a daily committed action for. Don't get caught up at all the other crap, all the stuff that you can't change. To me, that's just what happens a lot. Number three is be a master resetter, and that's after honest evaluation. So when I say a master resetter, that means you mess up and then you reset. It's almost like when we play video games, and I haven't played one in a while, but when you play video games, you lose your man, you get 3 men, you lose your man, and it says game over. Well, you just hit start again, and you get to play again and again and again. And you just got to be a master resetter. Man, I could pull out the Jordan stories and all that kind of stuff, but I think all you guys know it. He has this poem where it's not a poem. I guess it's just like a piece of paper. It talks about how many free throws he's missed, how many last minute shots he's missed, how many times that people were depending on him and he did not come through. But we don't even see it like that because we see the good stuff he did. Or you can think about how many times the Wright brothers failed, how many times they went up just to come back down and crash. Anybody, the guy that did the light bulb, Edison, we can go on and on and on about the failure after failure after failure after failure, and they still kept going and kept going. So when I say be a master resetter, that's what I mean by being a master. If you can count your failures, you ain't failed enough. If you can count them, you have not failed enough. Number 4 is never, ever believe you're there. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much influence you have. You're just never there. You know, there's always more, unless you're dead, then you're there. And then it's funny because if you say, okay, well, I'm dead, I'm there. That scripture in 1 Corinthians 13 talks about gifts and callings and the gifts of speaking in tongues and prophecy and all this kind of stuff. And it says at the end, the only things that are going to matter is love, faith, and hope. That's what this says. It says in there, that's all that's going to matter. But it says because after we're in that end time, there's nothing else left except those three, because you're still not done. There's still things that we're waiting to see according to the Christian scripture. But what I'm saying is that people that think they're there, they're not responding to the challenge of life a lot of times the right way, because they're not open to learning. So, I mean, you just got to believe that you just don't know everything. And if you believe that wholeheartedly, it's going to force you to read books. It's going to force you to listen to interviews. It's going to force you to ask questions of people and have mentors in your life. This year, I'm going to go out to Phoenix to the guy that I consider a mentor for me. It's weird because my pride don't even like to say the word mentor, because I'm like, man, I'm grown. I'm a grown. I was going to say I'm a grown amen, you know, but this guy has an impact. And the truth is that he just has deeper insight than I have. He looks at life a little bit different than I do. I can learn from him greatly because he's a guy that I always struggled with personally, is how do you be a people person and how do you maximize the money? And he's the one that taught me that. You can be a people person and still maximize the money. It don't have to be one or the other. I learned that from him. So at the end of the day, I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and he wrote a book. It's actually pretty good. And we're going back and forth. I was giving him some feedback on the book, and I told him, I said, I'm going to be down there this year because I haven't seen this guy in 20 plus years. I haven't seen him since he left Austin. So it's been a while. No, I saw him one time in Vegas one time. So I want to say I saw him at a convention in Vegas. So it's probably been at least 25 years. So, but that's the person that I trust. That's the person that I feel comfortable around. That's the person that I know I can be honest and open, and he's going to give me honest and open feedback. And the proof is in the pudding because he has impacted thousands of people. So at the end of the day, the number one thing, and I know it's 7:27, the number one thing is, let's see if I can remember all these, or at least I can find it. The number one deal is to understand how critical your response is in the moment. To understand how critical your response is in the moment. Number two was focus on the things that you can make daily committed actions for. Like, this is what I'm going to do today because of this. Because I didn't know anything about finances, I'm going to buy a book by Dave Ramsey, if that's your guy. Or what's the other guy? Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, Kiyosaki. Or whoever your author is. Maybe you're into the other books by other guys. Those are my two guys right there. Because I don't know nothing about relationships, maybe I'm going to read a book on about marriages, why marriages succeed and fail. Or they did an empirical study about relationships, people that were married. And it's one of the top books ever written about marriages. Or maybe it's because maybe I read a book on leadership by John Maxwell, because he has probably 40 books on leadership and they're very easy to understand. But whatever it is, I create an action plan, a daily action, committed action that I do to make sure that I do not keep falling in that area. That's all I'm saying. Number three is to be a master resetter. Don't get stuck on the failing. I feel like we do that a lot. I do it sometimes. I gotta shake myself. Yes, I failed again. Yes, I set a goal and I didn't reach it. Yes, I did it again. I'm going to reset again. Yep, this is the 15th time. I'm going to reset again. I'm going to reset. I'm going to reset. I'm going to reset until I die. That's the way it's going to work. And then never, ever believe that you are there. So if you can, type something in. I notice a little bit different going around the bush a little bit. One thing that I want to say, I got 1 minute, was that the side note is that quote is really not accurate when it says the truth will set you free, but at first it will piss you off. It's really not accurate because that quote comes from the Bible, and really it's very conditional because the context of the saying was this. Thank you, Tamika. It says, if you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciple. Then you will know the truth, and then the truth will set you free. the truth alone is not good enough. So even though that quote sounded good when Gloria Steinem said it, it's really not true all the way, because it's more to that. And it says the truth will set you free. Remember, even then it's conditional, and it's still then you still have to make a choice. And there's a lot more to it, but this is not a church, so I didn't want to go into all that. But since that statement was taken from there, I thought it was important to kind of wrap it up from that perspective. So at the end of the day, it's 7:30. Appreciate you guys coming on. Next week, we're talking about the quote. I can't remember. There's another quote, but it's talking about learning, unlearning, and relearning. So that's what we're talking about next week. We never stop learning. Great episode. Thanks. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the week. I know we're going to have rain out here in Houston for the rest of the week. But you guys remember our little saying: be intentional, focus on growth, and elevate now. Thanks a lot, guys. You guys have a great one.